start every video like that. Um, this is a live, but I feel like I should still say, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Let's take this out. Fran will be interjecting every now and again. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about, oh my goodness, I didn't expect everybody to come to this. I was kind of just like gonna wing it and see, think about, like I have my camera placed behind my webcam, so I'm thinking about maybe recording segments. I don't know, I'm still struggling with that. Eek. But I've got thoughts in my brain, so I want to talk about them. So I feel like I want to make sure, gross corporate language, we level set, understand what we understand in terms of language. And the first step to fixing something is being aware of that thing. But then after you're aware of it, which I think where we all are, if you're on this page, you're aware of the problem, being aware of it and doing something about it and talking about it are very different. And I think I know why. Well, at least specifically when it comes to race and social dynamics, I think I know why. We tend to overanalyze because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. But that is already a very centered way of thinking about things. And I think as an individualistic country, we have learned to think about things on a personal level and think about what am I doing? And it's almost right. And that's why we have a lot of these conversations about this versus this. This is intent versus impact. What words should be used, what words heard, and BIPOC and Black. And we've done a lot on the analysis step and very little on the accountability actions step, because it's easier to sit and ruminate on why. I read something saying, if you're going to improve your golf swing, the golf pro isn't going to ask you why you have do all the background research as to why you have a bad golf swing. Ugh, golf swing? I don't even, who came up with this? Whatever. Golf. But you just got to start. But I think there's an easier way to look at things. There's common differences in how we talk about talking, and it comes from a very white-centered perspective, but I'll show you kind of what I was thinking here. And words, how words matter, but they also don't matter. For instance, we talk about, I guess I'll start with the big one. Intent, and then impact, right? But that's one we've talked a lot about. Now, these are completely different fields to me, but we're going for a couple more of our buzzwords I've been hearing in terms of things that work and things don't. Talking, listening, all those. Listening and learning, all that, all these words. I'd rather hear communicating. And me, understand it, right? I think it's like so close, but so far. And, I get asked a lot about white fragility. And let's put that one here. Oh, ew, what a fancy G. I don't like that. Whatever, you get this one. Fragility and okay. But there are more that I find very easy that come to me now. But it's because I had this realization, right? And I talked a little bit about the dimensions, but this whole side, this is a lot of what we've been hearing. This is, oh my gosh, you can't see that. This is what we've been talking about. This versus this. Like, hearing and all of that. But this is 1D, and I would say this is 3D. This is, and I'll get into it more, centered. And this is constructive. Now, I wish I would use colors and things like this, and I will in the future. I'll take pretty pictures. But one is good and one is bad when it comes to understanding. And to me, there is no versus. This side cares about impact. It cares about circumstance. This side cares about the other side of a conversation. This side only cares about what is coming from, and it could go into empty space and it would be exactly the same. We would just be talking. Okay, there's more. Even this whole conversation I don't like. So I talked about covert versus overt. I don't even think this is right. I don't think it's a versus because they're not that different. But this should be, if you want to, versus ally versus advocate. It's a way more constructive conversation than covert versus overt. All we're doing here is identifying and explaining. Hi, I'm getting back. I've been having ideas and I've been doing my board like crazy, but I totally planned on starting with my fancy camera, but I'll do that later. This is all explanation, which no one is asking for. And explaining why, if we're talking about race, trying to explain abusive action is harmful. So that's why all this listening and learning, why Black people are not reacting well to intent, or even this conversation. How can you even be having this versus this conversation when people are dying? No one cares about why, covert versus overt. I don't care. Make it stop. If you're just stuck here on your thoughts on it, I don't want to hear that. Keep it to yourself. And then once you start to look at it through that lens, I think it gets a lot easier to have the conversations because there's not so much language to understand, because all the language does is explain, and no one needs an explanation anymore. Not when it comes to what we're discussing, right? So, I think it's important, and I love a good alliteration. That's why this is centered and this is constructive. And we could go on and on kind of in terms of how we talk about this issue. Things can be TBU, true but useless. And remember that. And people will often bring up facts that are TBU for many different reasons, sometimes to distract, sometimes just to, ward off some insecurity. But you have to be, mindful that things are TBU and it gets uncomfortable. But if you're concerned about the volatility of what happens when white women start crying, you don't care about why they started crying. I don't care. We got to talk about what happens. We have to talk about why this is painful. So this is not only just kind of like self-centered and not helpful, it's actually harmful to the conversation because it centers white feelings. This centers change to me, anyway. So I think that's a good way to think about communicating and catching yourself when you're overanalyzing or over-educating yourself versus like just listening and being constructive. I think the other things to realize are it's very simple to talk about it in terms of what it is. It's a white supremacist culture, and there, as long as you use that language, this will all happen. You don't have to remember this. This isn't. It's a frame of mind. Is it hard to read? Well, hopefully. I think what I'll do is then later on I'll do a clean one, maybe, or take pictures, because I have pretty pictures of this before I do it, like when I think about it to myself and I start, this is not the first time, but I'm not a pretty writer, and I think faster than I can. This way you can see it a little bit. My setup will improve. Oh goodness. I lost it. There we go. Hey! So yeah, I think it becomes very clear when you think about the lens of the conversation. When people say intent, your intent doesn't matter. Even when you're talking about intent, you are taking away from actually doing any work that impacts more than just the person in that specific conversation. This only has to do with a personal issue. We don't really care about this. What we care about is that. So let's not overanalyze. That's all I'm really saying. Okay, good. Oh, okay, so it's not me. I like it. Good. Even more reason to reshoot just maybe some of this with my camera that I had back there that I did not turn on. So, and that's in terms of communicating. That's what we're talking about. So I'm only talking about this stuff when I'm talking. I don't use newfangled language, microaggressions, implicit bias, unconscious bias, that all goes in the one-dimensional. All of the corporate jargon, one-dimensional. That focuses on niceness. I don't care, because I'll watch someone discriminate against a Black person and then say, have a nice day. Do you think they really want you to have a nice day? No, don't be nice to me. Be kind. That's important. You need to consider the other side of the conversation. Another basic diagram that I like to go over, which I'll probably do multiple times, so anyone who watches will probably, I learn something every time. And I haven't come up with the perfect name for this or whatever. It's a triangle. But no, for this diagram, but in terms of this is America, all right? Like, pretend that's the A. This is America. And this is how we were built. We were built as a hierarchy. But our hierarchy, or our caste system, I don't know why I'm writing it like this. Caste system. Okay, whatever. Our caste system is built as such, as in America. White supremacy and capitalism. Similar to the bike that I put on in a previous one, my bicycle, right? We talked about that. And then that doesn't ever change because we are exceptionalist and we just decided, this is beneath the surface. This is an iceberg. And then here you have, how do we make sure this is the foundation? What are the nails and bolts and things that keep this up, right? You got all the pieces, but how do we keep it together? Is the structure. So these are all the laws and all the rules that make sure this stays in order. And after centuries of making this, you see what's on the top, you see what comes to the surface. That's the most visible, not the most important, but the most visible, which are all of the isms. All appear, all the isms, bias, unconscious, all your intent that is extremely harmful. All of the actions, Karens, that's all up here, right up here, right? But it's because the laws have designed it so that white people stay away from black people, so that they can tell you what to think about a certain group of people, so that everything just seems like it has to be that way. So, but these people created this, and they don't really care what happens up here, honestly. It tends to be hate. They're fine with this. This is how we kind of, how it exposes itself. It changes names. It's always it's the face. But you changing anything in the laws or using the tools that were created to uphold this in order to destroy it is not going to work. You can't use something smaller than the big thing to destroy it while this was created because to make these rules, right? So this is all of them. And it's for generations, this is what has happened. We've been broken down, and these change names, but that doesn't really change anything that keeps the system going. And it's why we Black people don't care about diversity trainings, because that's all about being nice. It's all about not sounding or being perceived as racist, but it's impossible because that's what it is. White male supremacy is ingrained in white supremacy. So asking white men whose job it is to make this happen, to change this so that this doesn't function, is never gonna work. They don't even see it. And even if they do, then they've seen it on purpose, and that's what they're doing on purpose, right? We've seen it in the books. So reason I call out to white women, and I'm not calling out to everybody, is only some of us can see it or are willing to see it. And I don't have all the answers, but I do know that if I can see this, then you should see this too. And that's why I barely watch the news at this point, because it keeps us talking about all of these guys. They need to go. They need to go, because this is never gonna, we're just like, please, that makes no sense. So that's America. Awesome. And why we need a change in thought process. And we need to stop looking to the people who benefit from the system the most, or who created it, and see it as an exceptionally right, perfectly structured system. We're wasting time to try to get them to see it. Just inherently, it's not a good use of our time. I'm an efficiency freak, and I'm impatient, hence all of this. I like my little magnets. I'm just like trying to find reasons to use them. So, like I said, a caste system is a great way to think about, and if you're here, you guys have seen this, but if anyone comes to watch this live, the caste system, and talking about it as a caste system, and calling people, in the book, white supremacy is basically the caste system. That's the one we use. And we shouldn't really even use the word racism, because that is a manufactured thing of white supremacy. I just want to make sure I keep it with the same thing. So white people are the dominant caste. I'm gonna write bigger. I don't remember who's the middle. I don't remember who the middle caste is. Wait, hold on, it's right here. Oh, it's just middle. It's middle. Oh, funny. let's call them POC, or marginalized. That's middle. She doesn't really talk much about middle. Well, she does. And Black people are the subordinate. Sorry about this. Yeah, I got bigger. I like that. I don't know if that's on purpose, but so she discusses everybody in these terms because one, it doesn't assign the actual definition to it, and we can take some of the sting out of the language if we look at it as a system we want to break, as a caste system where the dominant caste has been taught awful things and used the middle class against the subordinate caste. And this way we can look at it and you can see it in real time when you look at it this way. I don't know if I've ever wrote this on card, yeah. I am not your Negro, yeah. It's an eye opener for sure. And they haven't changed, you're right, from the Civil Rights era and before the Civil Rights era. What has happened is in that triangle, they've changed things, the names of laws. We've gone from a slave to a Negro to a Black to African American. Has it changed any of the way we've functioned as a country or the design of our country? No. We've just talked about progress. Well, white people have congratulated themselves for learning so much and then moving forward. So it's much easier to just take all that PC, it wasn't correct. It was just white people calling it something else to dirty delete history. That's an analogy I need to put up to. When you dirty delete, like a comment, it doesn't change the ripple effect that already was started. So you can't just be like, never mind, Black people are human now, and then expect the Constitution to count for them, and to expect everybody else to, just stop it. Just stop. Stop it. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just not how it works. So we need to acknowledge, accept it, and be held accountable for doing things differently, having the conversations differently. Let's talk about it. And I think this is the best way to do it. And from the perspective of this book, because it's a Black woman this is the most up-to-date thing I've ever read. It's 2020. And she's done all the work. But I get sitting and reading, it's frustrating. But even just setting yourself up to understand the caste system is the foundation, is the bones, right? And then the laws are how you paint it, how you cover up the spots. And then what you see is the outside of them from a far distance, and whatever you see is what you get. It doesn't change that the house is old and needs work, right? So maybe the last thing I can do here, because I want to keep it kind of short, is give you how we got here, maybe. Well, no, not how we got here. That'll be something else. Maybe just some recommendations. So I'm Not Your Negro is great. Caste is always a recommendation of mine, but in case anybody watches this who hasn't, it's a book. If you want to look up work, what's it called? Mercy. Just Mercy is a movie. I love Bryan Stevenson and Mercy movie. Michael B. Jordan's in it. Because he is doing work right now with the EGI initiative, which is the foundation I support the most, because he is just so inspirational. And I saw a talk between Bryan Stevenson and Isabel Wilkerson, and they just talked about how great the other person's work was, and I was just like, this is amazing. I think there's also a book as well. It's just to kind of see where we are now, and get them to catch you up and see what's been happening all along that we have just been not aware of. I have more things, but there's a poem, a little clip you can listen to. Whitey on the moon. It's like an audio clip, and it's very powerful. I just like to think of things that are a little bit different that have spoken to me in like different ways. But this one hit me because it was in Lovecraft Country. I mean, you'll learn if you watch Lovecraft. It gets some like gritty at the bottom. Like it starts nice. And this is a show. So you get like an option. This is a limited series. This is a poem. Look at me. You get options, okay? Yep. Oh yeah, I played Whitey on the Moon like 2 weeks ago, and it's always powerful to me because I just heard it randomly while watching Lovecraft Country, and it just and now to have Mr. Amazon going up in space while people I can see people who need food. And he comes down in his cowboy hat, like anybody who's bought Amazon paid for this. And I don't know how you do it. You listened to Whitey on the Moon recently? Yeah. It's like, what, 2 minutes of just, we don't need trauma movies all the time. 12 Years a Slave. I don't suggest you watch that. You know what happened. Like, we get it. But now, what are we doing? This is really moving. Educational, but also current. And then you can learn more about him. This is current. This feels current and is not. So just like I Am Not Your Negro, how upsetting it is that it could be written today is how I feel with this. And Lovecraft Country is just like entertaining too. It's like sci-fi and exciting, and I love it. I've watched it a couple times. So you got, multimedia, okay? Multimedia. You can also come back to my YouTube, where I'll be talking about all these things all the time. But definitely Equal Justice Initiative is where I would point you if you wanted to know where I would donate money. Yeah, him going up in a phallic spaceship, yeah. Oh, white people, they're crying out for help in their own way, white men. Like, look at them. They're like, we've done it all. Like, we can't send our phallic-shaped objects anywhere else. Submarines, we're getting them everywhere. Now what, If you're bored, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. Yeah, let's go to space. I mean, can we discover the ocean also? Like, what's up with the fact that we only know like 5% of it? Anyway, the ocean freaks me out. On that note, I hope this was fun. I like it. It's like 30 minutes. Nice little lesson. I don't remember anything on it. I gave you a couple of the basics. Even though if you're here, you already know them. But hopefully, I can share them later. And I wanted to show everybody I'm okay because I posted a very emotional video. And I'm fine. I just wanted to share some of the process and the fact that Black women are not always strong and don't need to always be strong like it's a part of our DNA, and it's not. We're people. Plastic in exactly. Like, well, plastic in the ocean. Why? I just cut up a little 6-pack plastic thingy into shreds because I was traumatized by seeing like a turtle with a funky shell shape because it grew in a plastic. I'm like, why? Why is it there in the first place? I don't know, but let me cut this up because it's my responsibility. So we need to stop with the men. We need to stop listening to white men about anything. They've had their time. They're crying out for help. We're here to help them, but we gotta stop. They don't know when to stop talking. Well, sometimes you have to, just, it's okay. Shh, honey, it's okay. It's okay. Shh. I know, we gotta kind of resign, please. Resign. That shush is what I mean. I mean, we make white men resign from positions because they don't deserve to be there, but that's, especially if they're making decisions for the general population, which they do not know about. They should be quizzed on cultural competency, and if they fail, they gotta go. Can we start that as of like yesterday? Hey, if you don't know 3 things from whatever about voter suppression, you should not be allowed to serve for people. I don't care if they elected you. Y'all remember when we were 3/5 a person? Let's go back to that, but reverse. But that's my thoughts. But we gotta be cognizant and diligent about protecting ourselves and our emotions. And keep it pushing though, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. That was today's lesson. Thank you for coming to my channel. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks, guys. Hard. I feel good. Thank you. Mwah. White Woman Whisper out.